Hello everybody, my name is Olga Varlamova from Fuzzy Look, and in this video lesson I want to tell you how to make such a clutch bag with a handle. As an accessories, I have made such a flower. For this flower there is a separate video lesson. So what do we need for such a clutch? First of all, you need to choose what yarn you're going to use. This one, for example, I made from polypropylene cord PP macrame from macaroni. It has 250 grams, 230 meters, and I used about 2 skeins of such yarn. In this video lesson, I'm going to use a different cord, that is souttage cord, magic cord from macaroni. Here 200 grams, 200 meters. Here it is ready. This cord is thinner, that's why this one is a bit smaller. But it also depends from the color, because sometimes the same cord in different color has different thickness. For example, this one is made from the same cord, but it has slightly different size. Now I'll show you in comparison. The first one, black, is the biggest, the green is smaller, and white is the smallest. If we measure it, the black one is 28 centimeters, green one 26, and the white approximately 25. But white and green one are made of souttage cord, and that is a polypropylene cord. Souttage cord, here you need to use also about 2 skeins. For the white one I used 1.5, slightly less because it is slightly smaller. Now let's speak about the thickness of a cord. You can use any cord you like that has similar properties. I recommend you to use a cord 1.5 to 2 millimeters thickness. I'll show you here. The red one is the same like the black. Here polypropylene cord has 2 millimeters thickness, and souttage cord has 1.5 millimeters thickness. All these bags were made according to the same chart using 3 millimeter crocheting hook. Then you'll need one magnet clasp. I have already sewn the lining in, some fabric for the lining, darning needle with a big eye, some thread and needle, thread in matching color, measuring tape, scissors of course, and some sewing pins. And you may use this counter for the rows, to count the rows, or you can count them. I'll show you how to count them looking just at the pattern. So let's get started. We'll start working with this handle. So I'll take 3 millimeter crocheting hook and the cord we have chosen. I'll leave a long end. Now I'll even measure it. It is about 50 centimeters. I'll need it to sew the handle to the bag. And we need to cast on. First make a knot and cast on 11 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. I cast on rather tight. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In the description here you have a chart where you can see 11 chains here. Then we make 2 single crochets with 1 top, 1 chain. Note that here between the single crochet we skip 1 chain. I'll show it to you. So I insert the hook into the 3rd loop from the hook. 1, 2, 3. Here, make a loop, but do not finish the single crochet as you usually do it. Skip 1 chain, insert the hook into the next one. Here you insert the hook and make a loop. Now you close all 3 loops on the hook together. Here 2 single crochets with 1 top. Make a chain, and then again in the same opening 1 single crochet, in the same here, see, in the same opening 1 loop, then you skip 1 chain and make a loop into the next one and close all 3 together. Make a chain, and so you repeat. In the same opening make 1 single crochet but do not finish it. Skip 1, make the 2nd loop and close all 3 together. Make a chain, and the last repeat. 1 loop, skip 1, make the 2nd loop and close all 3 together. Make a chain. Here you can see in the chart that we finish each row with 1 single crochet. Into the same opening I make 1 single crochet. So we start the next row. Here we make 1 chain and again repeat 2 single crochets with 1 top. We work them into the arches. These arches are formed by the chains of a previous row. So make 1 chain, turn your work, insert the hook straight into the first stitch here, make 1 loop. Here you can see the arch where we skipped the chain in the previous row. You see now, here in this opening, the 2nd loop. Now close all 3 together and make 1 chain. And so you repeat in the same opening 1 single crochet, not finished. Then you skip and find the next arch here, again where the chain was skipped in the previous row, and make 1 more single crochet and close all 3 together. Make 1 chain. And again the same opening and into the next arch. All 3 together. 1 chain. Again in the same opening, in the next arch. Here it will be in the corner. Make 1 chain, and here we have to finish the row with 1 single crochet as always. So if you look at the chart, you'll see that here at the end of each row we have 1 single crochet, and then I make 1 chain, turn my work, and repeat the same pattern. Here in the first arch I make one loop, then skip one. In the next arch I make one more loop. Here it is. Work all three together and make a chain. Again, one, the second, and all three together, one chain. In the same opening, one, the next, three together, and one chain. The last one. Three together and one chain. We need to finish the row with one single crochet. Here. Now the second row's ready. That is, 3 rows are ready. Now we'll start the fourth. I make a chain, turn my work, and repeat likewise the same pattern. And so we work back and forth. My gauge is rather tight. Now the last repeat, 3 together and one chain, and we finish the row with a one single crochet. And so we work back and forth, and we need to make for the handle 54 rows. You can count using this tool, or I'll show you how to count looking at the pattern. At the end of work, you do not cut the yarn. We'll cut it later when we will be sure that this length will be enough. Because here it depends on the yarn and on your gauge. So I have already made 54 rows. How do we count rows? You see, in this pattern we see these relief lines that you can easily see. So between these relief lines we have 2 rows. So 1, 2. Here the end on the left, so we can count. So let's count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, and 53, 54 rows. This cord here I will not cut. I will try it and see if the size is okay. Then maybe I have to make it longer or shorter, so that you can use it if you need. The base for the clutch is worked in circle back and forth. You can see in the chart for the clutch, you can see that a clutch is bigger. Here will be 67 chains and here only 27. I made this so that it's easier for you to look at the chart and see these turns. So let's get started. I take my working cord, leave a small end just so that I can hide it, and start casting on. First the knot, and I cast on 67 chains. So I cast on 67 chains. I do not count the knot here. That is the first one. And I do not count the loop on the hook. So that's the last one. And now we'll start working our pattern. Here we'll start like we did when we were working the handle. First 2 single crochets with one top and then a chain. Again 2 single crochets and a chain. Just note that we start in the 3rd chain, and here I will insert the hook not under 1 half loop like I did for the handle, but under 2 half loops here. You can see them on the hook. 2 half loops. 1, skip 1, the second, make a loop and close all 3 together. Make a chain, again in the same opening, 1, then the second, skip 1, make the second, again make sure that you pick 2 half loops on the hook and close 3 together. 1 chain. So why do I do this? To have 2 half loops on the hook, because if you don't, then you will have holes here. That will not look very nice. So you better work it in both half loops. Pull the loop, skip 1, make the second, close 3 together and make 1 chain. And so you go on working until the end of this row. Now the last repeat. And the last repeat 2 single crochets with 1 top and 1 chain. And as always, we have to finish the row with 1 single crochet. We see it according to the chart, but here we are going to make a turn. So here we'll make 3 single crochets with the chains between them. So we made the chain already. I make 1 single crochet, one chain, again 1 single crochet and 1 chain. This knot you can undo it or you can hide it inside the stitches. Now I'll hide it inside the stitches. I'll tighten it and work around it, around the free end. The 3rd single crochet in the same opening. You see, here you can't see the knot at all. And so we go on working the pattern as always. We make a chain, make 1 loop into the same very opening we have just made single crochets, skip 1, make the second, Here, if I turn it, you can see here was this opening where we made the 2 single crochets. The top of single crochets will be now the opening we make this loop into. And 1 chain. So you see in the chart here, we go on working likewise till the next turn, till the end of this row. Into the same opening, 1, then into the next chain here, second, work 3 together, and 1 chain, and so on. I think that will do. I have worked this free end around. Now I'll be able just to cut it and repeat the pattern. Repeat the pattern like I did in a previous row. And I have nearly finished this row. I have to make the last repeat, 1 and 1 more. Here I have 1 more stitch, so I'll make 1. Here I make the second, 3 together, 1 chain. And here again into this opening I'll have to make the turn here. I'll make 3 single crochets with the chains between them. Here the 2 chains will be between them, the third one will substitute. In the same opening, 1 single crochet, 1 chain, 1 single crochet in the same opening, 1 chain. And the third single crochet in the same opening, and 1 chain. Here we do not make 1 chain, right? Here we'll make, maybe we could even make 2 single crochets here, but I prefer to make 3. Now we need to make a joining stitch. I'll pull this loop a bit bigger, insert the hook from the other side. Now I want to show you closer. Here we had 2 with 1 top. So before this top, I'll insert the hook here, but from the other side. Like this. Turn my work. The working thread goes down, and this loop I pull it to the wrong side. Now I make 1 chain. So here you see that was joining stitch. Then I make 1 chain and turn the work, and we start working in reverse direction. Now I insert the hook again into the same stitch here where I made the joining stitch. Pull the yarn. Then I insert the hook in the arch here, there was a single crochet and a chain. Into that chain pull the loop and work as always 3 together. Make 1 chain. In the same opening I make 1, then I skip, and in the next arch here I make, you can turn it and see, it's easy to see it from the right side. It's a bit hard at the beginning, but later it will be easier to work. And work 3 together. 1 chain. Again into the same opening, 1 loop, skip 1 in the next chain, in the next arch, that is. A second loop, so we kind of make this rounded turn, and 1 chain. Again in the same opening, 1 loop, pull the yarn, skip 1 in the next second, and then we repeat our pattern as we did before. 2 single crochets with 1 top and a chain. Again 1, 2, 3 together and 1 chain. And so you work till the end, here till the next turn. It will start to round like this and form the shape we need. I have nearly finished this row till the turn, till next corner. Here the loop, and then again we make single crochets with 1 top. 1, 2, 3. Here we have chains in the previous row between single crochets, so here we'll work into these chains. 1 loop into the arch between single crochets in the previous row. The next, work 3 together. 1 chain. In the same opening, 1 loop, then in the arch. Here skip 1, and the next you can see it clearly if you look on top. And 3 together. 1 chain. In the same one, skip 1, and in the next 3 together and 1 chain. Here you can already see clearly where these arches formed by the chains in the previous row are, and you go on working the same pattern. In the next row it will be easier to work it here, because there will be not the single crochets, but 2 single crochets with 1 top. And so we go on working till the end of this row, repeating the same pattern. I have nearly finished this row, and now I'll make the joining. Here I make 1 loop, then here where I started the row I make the second here. Here where there was a joining in previous row, I make the second. Work 3 together. Now I need to join. I do not make a chain, but start joining it once. I make this loop bigger. The working thread goes down here. Insert the hook from the other side. And pull this loop to the wrong side. That is the other side, which really is the right side of the bag, because the previous row we worked in the wrong side. Now I make one chain. If you look at the chart, you'll see it here. First, then we made the second row in this direction, and then now we join and start the third row. Here it will be chain and the repeat of the same pattern. Chain is ready. Again, into the same opening here where I made the joining, I make the first loop and pull the yarn. Insert the hook in the next, here. And make the second. Join 3 together. Make one chain and so on. First in the same opening, then skip one, make the next loop in the opening, in the arch formed by the chain of previous row. Here be careful, make sure that you grab only 2 half loops, but you may happen to grab the 3 and that will not be the pattern we need. That will change the pattern. So make sure that you take 2 half loops and make a stitch and one chain and so on. Now you already see that it starts to curve. You can see the corner here. And I go on working 2 single crochets with 1 top and a chain. On this side it will be easy to work because here you already can see the arches clearly where they are. I have finished this row. Now I'll show you again how I make this round. Here I just go on working the pattern into the arches. The arches is where the chains were in a previous row. Here you see. You can count here on top, count these chains of the braid, if it's easier for you. the next here, here the stitches are so small that it may be not handy to work it at the beginning, but it will be easier later. And the last piece here, one. Then here is the start of the row where the joining was. I insert the hook where the joining was here, pull this second loop, work all three together, and now we need to make a join. So I make this loop bigger, insert the hook from the other side, the working thread goes down at this. The joining will always be the same from this moment on. Insert the hook from the other side and pull the loop to the other side. So now this loop is on the wrong side, inside the bag. And make a chain. Now I turn my work again to work in different direction and go on work in the pattern. Here you see I have printed only 4 rows because then you just repeat all the same rows. So first loop here in the place where we have joined, then you skip this joining and make in the next, work 3 together and make a chain. Again the same opening first, then you skip one, make the second in the next, work 3 together and make a chain. And so you alternate the same pattern. And so on, till the end of this row, till the next rounded corner, where you will make again the next round and a joining. I'll show you the joining again when I come to it. Now I have nearly finished this round, and again I'll show you the joining. Now I'll make the last one stitch into the place of joining of the previous row, the second stitch, I work 3 together, but I do not make a chain here. I make this loop bigger, the working thread goes down, not to stand in the way, insert the hook from the other side, under the first stitch here, and pull our loop to the other side. Here I make one chain, and into the same opening where the joining was, I make the first loop. Skip one, and into the next here, that was the first first stitch of a row here. So I skip the joining here and insert the hook into this. Work 3 together and make a chain. And so I go on repeating the same pattern till the end of this round. That's going to be the 5th row already. And so we need to make 30 rows. If you fold it double like this, you see that the clutch already starts to get its shape. And this joining here, when you make several more rows, you'll see that joining is seamless. You can't see it. You have to look very close to see it, really. And so you go on working in the rounds 30 rows. And then we'll start making the flap. So I have nearly finished the 30th row here. Count your rows once more, like we did for the handle. Each relief line is 2 rows between them. So we can count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29, and 30. The 30th row is a wrong side row. And I finish the 30th row. The last repeat, 1 and 2. Work 3 loops together, and now we need to join. Now I'll make joining slightly different. Make a long loop, working thread goes down. I insert the hook from this side. And pull the loop towards me. I'll make this loop really big, so that in this loop I can pull the whole skein. To fix it, tighten this loop. And to go on working with the flap, we need to make a shift to 1 repeat. So here we need to make a shift, see? Now we insert, here was the joining stitch. I insert the hook under the chain of a previous row here. I insert the hook, turn my work, pull the working yarn to the right side, make 1 chain, and I start working the pattern. Insert the hook in the same opening, pull the yarn. Now insert the hook into the joining stitch. So I skip 1, 2. In the second, I make this stitch. And now again I have 3 loops on the hook, work them all together and make 1 chain. And so I go on working the pattern likewise. Skip 1, make the second single crochet and close all 3 loops with a 1. The same opening, first single crochet, second, again close and make 1 chain. So you see, I made 3 repeats. We need to make 34. You can count it at once or you can count it later. We need to make 34 repeats. 3 ready. 1 repeat is 2 single crochets and a chain. So that's our repeat, and we need to make 34 of such repeats in total. Thirty-two, 33, and a chain. At the end of this row, I made 34 repeats and a chain. Here I'll make just a single crochet, as we did when we finished the row for the handle. Now I make 1 chain. Here the principle will be the same as we did when we were working with the handle. Turn my work like this, insert the hook here into the chain of a previous row, pull the yarn, skip 1, insert the hook in the next arch, make 1 single crochet, and now close all 3 stitches with 1 top. And so you go on working with the pattern till the end of this row. Here you may count or you may not count the amount of the repeats, because here you see where you have to finish this row clearly. At the end of the row, again, we'll make 1 single crochet and turn work. I have nearly finished this row. I have to make only the last repeat, 1 single crochet, and then the last goes here into this corner. I close together and make a chain. And in the same opening I make 1 single crochet, just like we did when we were making the handle. So if you look at the chart, that is the chart of a handle, here we had 4 repeats. So 1 repeat is 2 single crochets with 1 top and 1 chain. Here we have 34 such repeats. But here you don't have to count it, as you can clearly see where you have to finish the row. So we made the second row and now we can already see the flap. Then we'll work around it to make a trimming. So we'll have 1 more row here. So the principle here is just the same, just like we did for the handle. Each time we turn work and go on working the same pattern. Here you don't need to count it. Don't forget that at the end of the row we always make one single crochet into the same opening. And so you go on working 39 rows for the flap. And when you finish the first skein, I'll show you how to adjust the next one. So here one skein is finished and I have to add the next one. I'll add the one I used for the handle. Now I'll put the handle onto the flap and I see that the handle is slightly bigger than the flap. I do this on purpose so that you have some space for the hand and it's easy to take it. Like this. You need the space for the hand. You can pin it with sewing pins to make sure that the size is okay to try it on. It depends on the size of the hand, of course. I think that this length of a handle will do for me. Or you can add several more rows if you think that you want to make it bigger. So now I can cut this yarn. I'll just leave the same free end as I left at the beginning, about 50 centimeters. And now I will use the second skein. I join the ends of sotage cord with glue. I have a glue gun, or you can use ordinary glue. So I hold these both ends in one hand. I take glue gun and insert this end straight into the opening of the gun, about 1–2 millimeters. Maybe a bit more. I push the button a bit. And the second one, the same. And now I press them together like this. Take off the excess glue that you don't have too much. Press with the fingers to fix it. And like this, it will be very strong, but at the same time it will remain elastic. Here you have to wait about 5 minutes and then go on working. So here is a place where I have joined. In this pattern, it's very important that you make a chain where you have joined the cord. I'll show you later. How do I do this? You can vary the gauge, and so now I'll have to make a chain. And here you see I have this joining. Carefully make a chain and adjust it so that the place where we have joined it is inside the loop. And I go on working the pattern. So why do I do joining on the loop? Because when we work the next row, we will work this chain, we'll work around it, and this way our joining will be hidden inside the stitch of the next row. But if I make it on a chain, then it will remain on the surface and it will be seen. And so you go on working like this with the same pattern until you have 39 rows. At the end of the flap, you do not cut the yarn. So here was the place where I was joining the yarn, and now I work around it because it was made in the chain, and with the stitches of this row I cover this place of joining inside. You see, now it's absolutely invisible. It stays inside the stitches and there's no way it will come off. So I have made 39 rows. Count them again, starting from this. Here were the first 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, and one more, the 39th row. I do not cut this yarn. This yarn we will use for working the trimming around the flap. So now we need to adjust the handle. I'll undo this knot here. I'll use darning needle so that I can carefully undo this knot at the beginning of the handle and just tighten it. And using the same darning needle, I'll sew the handle to the flap. I have a big eye needle, but sometimes it's hard to pull the sutage through. So where do we adjust the handle? I will compare it with the green one. Here you can adjust it higher or lower, it's up to you, of course. And I count. I count according to the pattern lines. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll adjust it between the 9th and the 10th row of the bag. I'll take a sewing pin and count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So between the 9th and the 10th, I'll insert a pin. I'll mark it. Then I have to mark the distance. Let's measure the distance I have sewn from this point, approximately 6 centimeters. But here I already have this trimming, and that's why I'll count the pattern. I'll count the repeats 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2, 3, 4, 5. And between the 5th and the 6th, I'll place the marker. Here I'll finish sewing the handle. And here as well I have to measure. 1, 2. I measure the repeats 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where the seventh ends here. So I count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here it will finish. You can fix it with sewing pins like this, or you can place it at once so that they match. I'll just turn this one so that it's easier for me to work. And now I take a darning needle and start sewing the handle. I'll take this pin off. I have already marked this row, I see it. And I insert the needle into the corner between the two rows. Here. Let's have a look. Then on the other side, I pierce through to the other side, to the right side. Tighten it. Again, next stitch, pierce through here. Here you can see between the repeats where the needle should pierce. Make sure that it's straight, goes along one row, the next stitch here, you see, in every other repeat. You see, this cord starts to become fluffy. I can cut it. Tighten it well here. In the next stitch, and the last. Here I have a pin already in this opening. I'll take this pin off. And the upper pin as well. And make the last stitch. Do not tighten it too much, but make sure that it is tight enough. And then we'll work in a different direction. Here I go perpendicular, and as well in every other stitch I make a seam. In the next here, Here you need to peer straight into the corner, so make sure that it goes okay. I'll show you here. Between the edge, closer to the edge, between the stitches. Maybe that's not that important, but anyway. So the width of our handle is 3 rows. 1, 2, 3. And here, let's check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and closer to the 4th, we sew the edge. So here I'll turn and pierce it closer to the 4th row, so that it's even on both sides. Tighten it. Don't forget that the handle may stretch a bit. And now we work in this direction, the same. Stitches in every other stitch here between the repeats. The next opening. In every other. You see here, I see where the opening there, so I pierce it through. The next one. And straight into the corner. So now one side of the handle is ready. Now we need to make a fixing stitch here. Here I'm not going to sew it on this side because here will be a trimming row and it will be sewn anyway. So now I'll just make several stitches to fix it. Even slightly inside the handle. And the same way I'll cut excess end here. Then I'll sew this end, and likewise I sew the handle on this side. Here I'll use this end I have left for sewing the handle to the bag. And again, I insert it into the darning needle. I'll cut the end. And it won't come in. Okay. And again, I'll pin sewing pins. Here is the level where I have to sew the handle. Now I'll count the repeats as I did on the other side. Likewise, 5, 6, 7. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And put a pin here. And the same on the handle. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6 on this side. But it has the same length, 2, 5.5, closer to 6 centimeters. So here, between the 6 and the 7s, I place a needle. And here I'll turn the pins as I'm going to start on another side, so I do not prick my finger on it. Here I find the same line where I sewed the handle on the other side. Here, this is this line. I mark it. Here in the center of the row. So now I sew it likewise, and then I'll show you how to fix the ends. Now I have sewn the handle on both sides, and now I want to show you how to fix the free ends here. I take a sewing needle with some thread in matching color, and first I'll turn it so that it's handy. So first I sew this end to the bag, make several stitches so that it stays in place. Here I use a loop method to fix the sewing thread, like this. I make several stitches, and I always fix all the free ends like this, so I make sure they stay put. That will do. Maybe one more here. One loop, tighten it, and the second loop, and again. To fix it properly. Sometimes it's hard to pierce through as this cord is very dense one. I cut this cord. I cut the thread. This cord I cut and leave a small end. About ½ centimeter, a bit more. Now I turn like this, take a lightener and very carefully melt it. Because you see, the charge cord is very easy to come off, so I need to fix it. Carefully melt the end with a candle or lightener. Like this, you see? It starts to turn black, and I fix it inside. Like this. Here will be one more row of trimming. Likewise, I fix this end on this side, then the free end we have here at the beginning of the work. All the free ends I fix like this. And now we need to make trimming for the flap. So the row here finishes with a single crochet, so I make one chain, turn my work like this, anti-clockwise, and I will use the same pattern for the trimming. Insert the hook in the same opening, pull one loop, then insert the hook in the next stitch here and make the second loop. Now I close all 3 loops on the hook together. Make one chain. Again, in the same opening, make one single crochet. Then, in the next line where the pattern ends, the row ends, the second. So here I work according to the pattern and make one chain. In the same opening, the next. So for each row I make one repeat. And one chain. You see that I form one more row, and here we get such a nice corner. And so I go on and on, making trimming for the flap. Till the handle. Then I'll show you how to work both the handle and the flap. When we make a wet heat processing, this all will be even more flat and nice. So here I'll make one more and I'm almost next to the handle. So here where the handle is, we'll have to work with both the handle and the flap. I slightly open this seam between the handle. You see 1, 2, 3 rows. So I insert the hook first in the same opening. See where I should pierce so that it gets here, right? And here next to it so that it pierces between the rows. You see, I work with both sides, side of a handle and side of a flap at once. Then here I have the next stitch between the rows. So first I make 1 single crochet in the same opening and the second single crochet in that opening that I have marked for myself here. It is. Again, in the same opening, 1 single crochet. Then the line between the rows is here, so I trace visually this line to the handle. I see I have to pierce here. So I make stitches always where there were chains in the previous row, into the arch that this chain forms. Make sure that this seam lies flat and nice. And I see that here it looks a bit too free. I want to make all the same, but a bit tighter, for I don't like the look of it. So I'll return and do all the same, but slightly tighter. So now I like it better. You see, now the seam lies flat. And the last. So the next will be here. And here I work the last single crochet straight into the corner. And into the same opening I go on working the same pattern. Here you see again I made a loose stitch, so I want to make it a bit tighter. Here it's up to you how you prefer the trimming, tight or loose. But so that it doesn't tighten and do not make waves. Make sure that your edge is straight, it's flat. And so you go on working till this corner. I have nearly made this trimming. I have one more. And now I want to show you. Here I make the last. 1, 2, the last repeat. And now I'll start working the same here on the edge of the clutch. Here I have to make it into the corner. And likewise, as we were working the clutch itself, I make 3 together, then make a chain, turn like this, and go on working likewise. And make stitches in every arch. I have nearly finished this row. And the last into the corner. I make 1 chain, turn my work, and now go on working the same pattern along this side. So here you see the pattern line between the rows where I insert the hook, make 1 stitch, in the next line between the rows make the next stitch, work 3 together and make 1 chain. You see now I'm again near the handle, and likewise here I find these lines on the back, mark, and visually see where I have to pierce. I start with a stitch in the same opening first, then I see that here is a line between 2 rows, so I pierce it here on top, straight between the rows on the back. And again, I want to make the stitch slightly tighter. 1 here, through both, the second, 3 together, and the chain, and again. Again, I see where I have to pierce to get between the rows. So here, to get between the rows on the back. In the same opening, the second one here between the rows, and straight into the corner. The last one here. The next one will be here, so I'll pierce this corner of the handle, the very edge here. And through this line here so that it is all straight. 3 together and a chain. And so I just go on working the pattern like before. Here I'll make 1 more stitch in the same opening, as always. The next will be in the next arch here between the rows. And a chain, and so on. I have nearly finished this row. Here is the end, the corner. I'll make the last one here between this last stitch. Not the last, the first rather stitch here. Insert the hook, make the second loop, close together, one chain, and now into the same opening I'll make just one single crochet to end the row as always, and likewise one chain. Now I'll pull this end, cut it. I leave a small end to fix. Now I'll take a darning needle. With a big eye, insert this cord. The eye here is not big enough, it's a bit hard. And now we need to make a false slip stitch to make a nice corner here. So one stitch and the second. I skip one and insert my needle in the second. Pull the cord. I do not tighten it for the time being and return it here where I have started, straight into the center of this braid. Now I tighten it and make it the same size as all the rest. And so we get such a nice corner and nice finish. Equal on both sides. This free end very carefully we hide behind the stitches. On the wrong side I'll make several stitches. You need to make it tight, but not tight too much. So you go on hiding it, several stitches in one direction, several stitches in the other direction. So that it is hidden inside the stitches. That will do. Now we need to sew it to melt it as we did before. So I have already sewn this free end. I left it a bit longer, a bit more than 1 centimeter, because I wanted to hide it. You see this black end, as my cord is wide, I take a smaller crocheting hook and I'll try to hide it straight into the pattern. One and a bit more. Somewhere here. 2. You see, now it's almost invisible at all. Now we need to make a wet heat processing. We use iron in cotton option with steam through some cotton cloth or through a towel. You can process it with steam, then you can attain the shape you want, you can stretch it or vice versa. So I made a wet heat processing, and now I can attach the lining and the clasp. So I'll start with a clasp. That's a magnet clasp here. First on the flap and then on the back. Here the most important is to place it straight. So I'll skip 1, 2, 3, 3 rows, 3 lines of a pattern, and place it here in the center. Like this. I'll take measuring tape or a ruler and measure so that it is symmetrical on both sides. 11 centimeters 7 millimeters, and here 11 centimeters 6 millimeters, so 1 millimeter. You can pin it in place with sewing pins and sew it carefully with a thread in matching color. First I sew this one, then I close it and find the place where I wanted to attach the second part of this clasp. And I measure always so that it is symmetrical. But if you look like this, you'll see that here it has 3 lines as well. 1, 2, 3, and here it is. Check again when you close the flap here whether it is okay. So I have already sewn this magnet, and now we need to sew in the lining. First we need to measure our bag. How we do this? We turn it inside out like this. I will sew the lining at this level, so I'll start measuring here. First line here, first line of the pattern, and on this side as well we need to find where we'll sew the lining, here along this line. So I place measuring tape like this, go down towards the bottom, make sure that your measuring tape is straight and flat, and then measure here till the place where you're going to sew your lining on this side. So I have 28 centimeters. I'll write it down, 28 centimeters. And the second measurement is the circumference. Here we need to measure it inside, and I measure the circumference here on one side. It's easier to do this on the table. Here and here till the corner. Turn it and go inside on the other side as well, till the place where I have started to measure it. Here, 50 centimeters. Your measurements may be different, it's okay. It depends on the yarn and your gauge. So I write down 50 centimeters. And now we need to cut a rectangle from fabric. That will have height 28 centimeters, our first measurement, 28 centimeters, plus 1 centimeter on each side for the seam allowance. That will be 30. And then the width here will be 50 divided by 2, and we get 25 centimeters. 25 plus 2 centimeters for seam allowance, 1 centimeter on each side. So we get 27 centimeters. So we need a rectangle 27 to 30. That's my measurements. Your measurements may be different. So I have already cut it. I'll use such fabric. Now we need to fold it double. So here I have 30, here 27. I fold it double, right side to right side. And I have to make 2 seams, one on this side and one on this side. So I have made 2 seams on both sides. The edges I always cut with this special sewing scissors, zigzag scissors. This will prevent the fabric from fraying. These corners I slightly cut, so that I can easily open the seam on one side and on the other side in the corner here. Now I'll take iron and iron it and open the seam. Here, like this, I open it and iron. That's why I have cut the corners. And I'll fold fabric here on top 1 centimeter. Press it with iron as well and make a seam here approximately 2-3 millimeters from top. Then I'll start sewing the lining into the back. So I have already made the seam and pressed it with iron. Now we can insert this lining into the clutch bag. Here, each corner will be next to the side of a clutch. I'll take sewing pins and now very carefully pin it to place. Here along the line I decided to make the lining. 1 pin here, 1 opposite. And now I do the same along the perimeter. Sometimes I fix like this. I just pierce through. Just be careful, don't prick a finger. Make sure that the fabric lies flat, no waves, no creases are made, and so on. 1 pin here, Several more on each side will do. If you need, you can place some more sewing pins, because the more you pin, the easier it is. One more here and one more here. Like this. And now I'll shift camera and show you how I sew the lining in. So I start sewing from the side seam here. I take thread and needle. Thread is in a matching color. I use the thread folded double, 2-ply flat. I use it rather long so that I will not run out of it while I sew the lining. I hold the fabric with my fingers. First I fix the thread on the bag. I can fix it using the loop method like this without any knots, and several more, one more time like this, a loop. Now I'll open so that you can see it here. I insert the needle straight into the top of the fabric, into this crease, you see, and make a small stitch into the very top. Now I again return it into the bag. Here I follow this line, the relief line of the pattern, and make a small stitch here. Again into the fabric, a small stitch, and into the bag where the next repeat is. Tighten a bit, but not too much, so that you do not make waves, because if you make it too tight, it will be wavy. Again into the fabric, and into the bag. Slightly tighten, again into the fabric, and with such tiny stitches, by and by, be patient here, you sew in the lining. You see, I do not pierce it through, I pierce only the inside of the bag and slightly tighten. Again into the fabric, and so you go on like this in the round. And you see, the lining is hidden under the line of the pattern. Don't forget that you shouldn't tighten it too much. You will feel the tension if you do it. So I have sewn the lining in. Now I check again that everything is nice and straight. And now for this clutch, I'll make a flower embellishment. Now I'll show you as an example how you can add some decor to this clutch. For example, in this green, I have made trimming here with a golden thread along the handle. That is a small and very subtle accent that will make it look nice. I used metal thread from Anchor. Here 25 grams and 100 meters. I'll show you a small example how to work it with some other needle. So the main principle here is you have these chains, 1, 2, between them, under 2 half loops, you insert the needle with your thread of contrastive color, again into the same opening here, then you skip 1 and insert into the next chain here, again into the same opening, and one more, again in the same, and into the next one likewise. And so you can get such a nice trimming for your handle. So I have already made the flower. There is a separate video for the flower and I have attached it to the masterclass. I hope you liked it and see you. Bye!